Representative of Indonesia.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, we thank USG Matt Lowcock for his updates on the humanitarian situation in Syria. And we would also like to thank you, Mr. Lowcock, for adjusting the Council schedule in such a short notice. The grim information that you just shared with us was indeed troubling. That the deteriorating humanitarian condition as a result of increased violence in the Northwest should have been prevented if all relevant parties stay committed to their obligations in protecting the civilians in civilians' infrastructures under international humanitarian law. My delegation believes that it is imperative for all parties with influence on the ground to ensure that the Syrian people are well protected. During the Council's briefing on the situation in the Northwest last June, my delegation emphasized that the Council needed to give the right answer when asked about what would happen to the people in Northwest Syria if the violence keeps escalating. It is frustrating to actually know the real answer to this question. Since the resumption of hostilities between the end of April 2019 until 15 January in the escalation zone in Idlib, the Office of the UN for Human Rights has reported around 1,500 civilian casualties, including 293 women and 433 children. The number of people displaced, many of them have been displaced multiple times, is also alarming. With camps overcrowded and humanitarian responses overstretched, concrete and sustainable actions are urgently needed. Mr. President, my delegation in this regard wishes to underline three main points. First, immediate humanitarian assistances such as food, health services, shelters, water and sanitation, as well as winterization items are urgently needed, not only by people in the Northwest Syria, but also in the Northeast. Many IDPs in those overcrowded camps in these areas need their food in order to survive. Many displaced families need their sleeping bags and blankets to ensure their children can survive another day during the extreme winter weather. We commend the tireless efforts of the United Nations and its humanitarian partners in addressing the urgent needs of millions of people in Syria. Second, we note that the cross-border operations continue to scale up during the period of December and January, with over 1,000 trucks of humanitarian deliveries. The Council's decision to renew the cross-border mechanism with 2 crossing borders needs to be reviewed and assessed comprehensively based on the actual information on the ground. Most importantly, it must be based on the needs of the Syrian people. We look forward to receiving the Secretary General's report by the end of February on the feasibility of using alternative modalities for the border crossing of Al Yarubia. Lastly, a safe, unimpeded, and sustained access needs to be given to the United Nations and its humanitarian partners to all requested areas according to the UN's comprehensive assessment of need. Mr. President, some said that people are tired of hoping for peace in Syria. Obviously, there are reasons behind this. However, Indonesia fully believes that we should not get tired in helping the Syrian people in need, and we should not get tired in increasing our efforts to elevate the suffering of these people. I thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of Indonesia.